Welcome to episode 374 of the 2-Minute Warning. Today I'm looking at the Utah Jazz and deciding whether or not they are real NBA final contenders in this 2021 season. Only 72-game season, but before getting into that topic, of course there is a question for the video. Who is the all-time leader scorer in points for the Utah Jazz? Who has the most points in franchise history? If you do know the answer, comment it below, but if you do not worry, stay till the end and we'll reveal the answer. But looking at the Jazz right now, number one in the West record-wise and just number one in the NBA record-wise, 24-5, playing the Los Angeles Clippers currently tonight. That might change their record a little bit if they win or lose, obviously, but will not change their seeding. They are basically have a 4 or 5 game lead in the West right now. But looking at how good they are this year, Donovan Mitchell, we know he's a superstar. Even his rookie year, he went into the playoffs with the Utah Jazz and competed with James Harden, made it a competitive series. Did not win, obviously, but it was still a competitive series and worth watching. Last year, he took a step up in the playoffs and performed even better, had a 3-1 lead over the Denver Nuggets. He even had a Game 1 career high in points. If I'm not mistaken, it was 57 points for his career high. Don't know the exact number. I believe it was 57, or maybe he topped 60, but it's a career high for him, and he had a great series against the Denver Nuggets. They fell short, however, because of Jamal Murray's amazing performance, just going neck and neck with Donovan Mitchell. And then when those two superstars kind of cancel each other out and you go to the second superstar on that team between Nikola Jokic and Rudy Gobert, Jokic is going to win every day, and therefore that is definitely going to be a factor to consider looking at them in the playoffs and finals this year. But overall, this year is not really just a two-man show between Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. They have Mike Conley, their point guard, who was a very underrated point guard in the West for many years and has really come back now. I believe he's 33 years old. He's shown he's got a little bit of gas left in the tank, and he's really performing how he used to be, being very subtle but very talented, very above-average point guard that is very underrated in my opinion. So between him, Mitchell, and Gobert running the offense for the most part, and then you have Joe Ingles out on the side along with Bogdanovich just waiting to shoot an open three. This is a very lethal team from the three-point line and even in the paint with Rudy Gobert. Offensively, I thought that would be his biggest concern. We know on defense he's a great player. He has several Defensive Player of the Year awards, but on offense he's not the same animal by any means. However, he's definitely stepped up this year with pick and rolls and even being with assists, shooting out to three, like I said, to Joe Ingles and Bogdanovich. And even Jordan Clarkson off the bench has put up 40 points off the bench at some point this year, and he's really shown he could be a great role player. You'd wish he was a great role player when he was on the Cavaliers with LeBron when they were trying to make a finals run, but it doesn't matter what it is now. He's doing it now for the Utah Jazz and the current team he's on. So between this team's lethal threat and Rudy Gobert stepping up in the offense, Donovan Mitchell being the amazing superstar we know, I do think he's probably a top 5 in his position in the league right now. Mike Conley showing he's got gas in the tank, and then being lethal from the three-point line across their entire roster. Have a great depth chart with for their three-point shooters, like I said, in Bogdanovich and Joe Ingles. And Clarkson, not the greatest shooter, but he can make an open look when it is there. I do think this team is very lethal, but to say they're an NBA Finals contender is very hard, especially when you're in the same exact conference as LeBron James. And even in the East right now, can't say it's that weak because you'd have to go through Kevin Durant and that Nets monster of a team, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, you know the list. But being number 1 seed in the West does benefit come playoff time. I think come playoff time, if they lock in that number 1 seed, they can get a good matchup between the Golden State Warriors or the Memphis Grizzlies or the San Antonio Spurs. The Denver Nuggets are the 7th seed right now. However, I don't think they're going to stay there forever. A lot of season left. I think they're going to up their standings and get a better record and possibly get a 4th or 5th or maybe even 3rd seed. We'll see how it goes. I don't think they'll stay 7th seed, so I don't think we'll see the Jazz match up against them. But I definitely think this Jazz team could take on the Golden State Warriors that's struggling without Klay Thompson. Steph Curry, yes, we know he's even created an MVP season. I don't think he has enough on that Warriors team to take out the Jazz. Same with San Antonio Spurs. You got DeMar DeRozan, Aldridge, Greg Popovich, one of the greatest coaches of all time. This Jazz team is very lethal, has a great depth chart. I just don't see an 8 seed be able to knock them off. And Memphis Grizzlies, outside of John Morant, yes, there's some talent, but he's a star of the show, and he's not even close to really stepping up to Donovan Mitchell's level, in my opinion, just yet. I think they'll definitely get a first-round win. Second round is where it gets a little tougher. If they're the first seed, and assuming the Lakers and Clippers are probably the 2nd and 3rd seed, they will probably match up against each other in the second round, favoring the Jazz because they will get a second round matchup of the Blazers or Suns. This is where it gets interesting. They'll play a really good team. However, I do think they could pull off a second win in the playoffs. It won't be easy because, like I said, Rudy Gobert is performing great offensively, but really, can he take on an Anthony Davis or a Nikola Jokic or a DeAndre Ayton from the Suns come playoff time? We know in the playoffs he's not really the same guy as he is in the regular season, so that will be interesting to see. But I do think they play a Blazers team that really excels on shooting from the three-point line, being great shooters, being great scorers at shooting. I do think this Jazz team can actually possibly outshoot them. We know Dame Time, one of the best point guards in the league, if not the best. Love the dude, but in the playoffs, he doesn't win the big game a lot of times. Yes, he wins the big games and big shots, but he doesn't go so far to where he wins the extremely important ones where he could take them to the NBA Finals, and I don't think he could take out a super deep team like the Jazz right now. And again, the Suns would probably be that would be tough for the Jazz to beat, in my opinion, because of Devin Booker, Chris Paul. Chris Paul's a winner. He wins everywhere. We see him with the Thunder, we see him with the Rockets, we saw him with the Pelicans, and now he's a winner with the Suns. And DeAndre Ayton taking on Rudy Gobert. It'll be interesting to see, but I do think the Jazz could take out either of those teams. And then come Western Conference Final time, I really don't see them beating the Lakers or the Clippers just because LeBron, Kawhi Leonard, we know those two teams. I don't have to go in depth. I don't think they could go through and make it an entire NBA Finals run, but if they make the Western Conference Finals, clearly if you make it there, you have a chance to win it, so I can't count them out completely. They have a fighter's chance, but I think they will fall short to LeBron or Kawhi Leonard if they even make it that far, but I definitely think this is at least a one-series playoff win at the very least in the Utah Jazz. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Huge fan of Donovan Mitchell and what he's pulling together with Utah. I hope he gets some more help. He has a great team. I wasn't fond of the Jazz signing Gobert to a huge extension, but he's proven he's worth it at least so far this season. We'll see how the playoffs go. Like I said, let me know what you guys think in the comments about the Jazz. For the question of the day, though, all-time leading scorer in points for the Utah Jazz is none other than mailman Karl Malone. He leads in points scored, second most of all time, not in just Jazz history. He's a beast. Thanks for watching, guys. 2-minute warning.